Hello and welcome back to Shock's Arcade Lounge, and we are going with another episode of Content Creator Spotlight. Today's guest is none other than the Seven Force. This wonderful FGC enthusiast has basically been creating a lot of videos on his channel with already over 8,000 subscribers and counting, mind you. And of course, is a fellow FGC enthusiast such as myself. Welcome, Seven Force. It is a pleasure having you here today. How do you feel about your day today, actually? And welcome.
Oh, well, it's a pleasure to be here. It's been a pretty chill day. I've been looking forward to this, so, it's nice to be here.
I'm really glad to hear that. So, before we get started with the questions, just a couple of questions real quick. So, tell us about yourself. Well, to those who are new to you, but for probably those who are very much into your channel, like your subscribers, if they're tuning into this, tell me about yourself.
Like as a person or as a content creator?
Well, if anything, you can do both.
I guess kind of the same thing here, but yeah, no, I just really like fighting games, video games in general, but particularly fighting games. So I have a YouTube channel where I talk about them a bunch, and I talk about a lot of fighting game stuff. It can be like miscellaneous topics, like chibi or like super deformed fighting game demos, but primarily I talk about like the Capcom versus crossovers, and that encompasses Tatsunoko versus Capcom, Marvel versus Capcom, and Capcom versus SNK. And yeah, just talk about the little details in those games, and the move sets and where those move sets might have been inspired from, be it other video games, comic books, or even other media like anime and manga. I just really like talking about video games.
And I believe that you've been making a lot of progression lately. Mostly you have been working on the Capcom versus Legacy character videos. You're also somewhat getting used to working with Sega Fighting Legacy. And if I'm not too mistaken, I believe at the moment of this recording, not too long ago, you just released a video talking about Ruby Heart, am I correct?
Yeah, Ruby Heart, that video came out earlier today, yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to be leaving a very, if you look in the video, you'll definitely take a look into that video itself. Totally check it out, because truly, like, Ruby Heart is such a really good character, and this dude did a really good job with this video. Seriously.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, one last question before we even get started. How excited are you for Marvel vs. Capcom coming back in the form of the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection?
So I'm excited about it on two fronts. I'll say three fronts. So one, I was hoping something like this would happen, but I guess I was a little bit pessimistic, because I honestly thought they'd maybe like skip Marvel 2 and do like a separate release for that, because that's the one game they probably know they can get away with doing that for. So having everything up to Marvel 2 plus the Punisher is just kind of like a dream come true for me. It'll be nice to be able to actually play them on like a system that came out in like the 2020s or like the late 2010s. I don't have to like drag out an old system to play them. And also as a content creator, it'll be like actually really easy to be able to make these videos now, because they're all on one system. So I'm really happy about all three things, but I'm just happy that people get a chance to play these games. They're incredible, and it sucks that like the farthest back you can go to play them is like Dreamcast. Or no, Dreamcast, because you can't buy the HD version of Marvel 2.
Yeah, that, and also like Marvel vs. Capcom Origins, just to play superheroes and the first Marvel vs. Capcom game. And
yeah,
years ago, the whole delisted from PS3 and Xbox 360 Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which was also like during like the GGPO system for the online matchmaking. I think, was Iron Galaxy responsible for that, or was that a different company?
No, it was Iron Galaxy did Origins, yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, and I also know that they also did Third Strike Online Edition, which to me is like my favorite version of Third Strike, but honestly, Third Strike, at the end of the day, is still Third Strike, so I love whatever version it is.
Well, Third Strike Online, if I'm remembering right, that's like one of the preferred versions of the game. Like outside of the arcade version itself, I think it's the version like most people that like came up playing the arcade version, they'll say, yeah, no, online edition's pretty solid. So yeah, Iron Galaxy did pretty good work overall.
Yeah, they truly did. And, they went to moving forward with Killer Instinct, which is one of my favorite fighting games of all time. And, I ended up using a lot with the freaking Battletoad, but I'll talk about that on a different time. But I'm just really glad that, coming from, starting up years ago when I used to play in the Chinatown Fair arcade in the old days, I literally had my butt kicked playing a lot of Third Strike, and I didn't really care about winning actually at that moment because I was new. Like, I had no idea what I was doing, but I just felt like every time I was taking a loss, it was like, okay, I have a pretty good idea how to get better, and I went to compete for EVO for Third Strike, and honestly, I had such a beautiful time literally watching from playing, meeting people in the pools, and just seeing the grand finals for Third Strike this year. It's something magical. I had a really good time with people during that event.
Oh man, I bet.
I know definitely for sure that if we happen to meet up again also for EVO next year, hit me up, man. Like, we could literally watch the finals together, go crazy, enjoy, literally yelling, yeah, we love fighting games, and bring the energy just like I did this year. It's gonna be hype.
I'm going next year. I got screwed this year, but I'm going next year, absolutely.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to, interact and play some games and take a look at some perspectives while we're at it too.
Of course.
And with that, let's get started with the questions that I have for you today, which is, first one that I got to ask is, what actually inspired you to create the content you make on your channel? Like, what's the inspiration that came from that?
Okay, so I remember we talked about this before, and my answer was pretty jumbled, but I actually do have like an actual concrete answer to this question. So I want to say around 2009, 2010ish or so, there was a channel on YouTube called Crappy Capture Device, and they did kind of like what I'm doing, but with Smash Brothers. The newest game at the time I think was Brawl, so they kind of did that, and I remember just loving it and loving the format. And I remember specifically looking to see if somebody did that for any other fighting game series, and they didn't. And I thought that was kind of a shame, but I didn't have a good computer at the time, and I didn't have like the gaming library I do now. So it's kind of one of those things where I kind of just shoved it to the back of my mind and didn't really think about it. And then a couple years later, I just so happened to was looking up something for Marvel 3. I was trying to figure out how to do like zero combos or something. And this video comes up doing exactly what I was looking for, like showing all of Zero's moves in the game and like which Mega Man game they came from. And I remember thinking, oh man, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I'm gonna subscribe to this guy. Has he made any other videos? And I clicked, and like that video had been made like 5 years ago from when I looked at it, and he hadn't done anything since. And so I was just like, okay, that was kind of disappointing. So again, put it into the back of my mind, and a bit after the pandemic, again, I just so happened to be looking for something, and I was looking for a video for something. I can't remember what it was, but I was going through like my favorited videos, and like near the bottom of that list was that video, and it reminded me, and I remember thinking, I don't think anybody's done anything like this yet. So I checked, and still, this video was like the only video of that type for like Marvel. So I said, you know what? I kind of like Thanos. I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do this myself. So I got all the parts I needed to like build a computer, which was my first time doing that, so that was really scary. And I built a computer so that I can like capture footage and everything, and yeah, that's pretty much how I got started. I just kind of wanted to be the change I saw in the world.
Yeah, and so far you have, like I mentioned before, 8,000 subscribers and growing, and honestly, you've been doing a really good work providing a lot of insight with, like you mentioned, character moveset, but it's clear that the inspiration came from literally seeking something that you thought someone or someone out there in the internet or throughout the World Wide Web have made, but you decided, you know what? As Daniel would say, you're not fine. I'll just do it myself.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm surprised I made it past like 1,000 subscribers. But moreover, I'm really glad that I did it because I get like a lot of comments from people saying that they've wanted something like this for so long and nobody just ever did it. So it kind of makes me feel better that I'm not like the only weirdo like interested in these things. There's other people that like this kind of stuff too. So I'm glad I'm kind of filling a niche for people.
And if anything, you're providing a service, just as every content creator providing a service, either insight, entertainment, and in some occasions interactive, because you give a lot of people a way to be informed about what is really there besides the whole, oh hey, like there's Spider-Man, there's Ryu, there's Venom, there's Wolverine, Deadpool, and a majority of these fighting games. So honestly, what you're doing, keep it up. It's really great.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Another question that I have for you is, which content creators inspired you? Now, you did mention one, but is there another one that inspired you, or is it just mostly this particular content creator you mentioned into the inspiration of the content that you make?
So those two content creators I mentioned before, Crappy Capture Device, and I don't think I mentioned the other guy's name. The guy that did the Zero video, his name was Jay Moonies. So they're what inspired me to start the channel. But they're what inspired me to start the channel. But as far as just like continuing and like evolving and kind of innovating what I do on the channel, that's it's not a difficult question, but like there's a lot that inspires how I do the videos. And where do I even start? Sorry, I got something stuck in my throat. Just give me a second.
No worries.
I really should have drank some water before this. Okay, so
I gotcha.
Yeah, so how do I explain this? Like, there's bits and pieces like I get inspired by from other people's channels and kind of like try to put my own spin on it. Man, I have a whole list. Can I go down or go down the list, or I don't want to take.
Yeah, sure. Time. I mean, yeah, sure. No worries.
It's not like 50 or anything, but it's just a handful. So, so for like the Marvel characters in Capcom vs. Legacy, right? I specifically would like throw in like a comic recommendation. I think would be nice for people that maybe want to learn more about the character. And that was inspired by two different things. So the first one, there's this guy on YouTube called Dope Spill Comics. So like I don't know if you've like ever like waded into like the comic side of YouTube. It's like a big thing now where like people like recap like most currently released comic for like any given book, and they'll talk about it, and it's usually like a chill atmosphere. And that's what this guy does basically. And I'm a big fan of his stuff, and that kind of like inspired like the format for it. But what actually got me to jump into like making just to including them in the first place, surprisingly, it was a Majin Obama video, believe it or not. He did a video a while back where he was talking about fighting games and comic books and golf too. It's a funny video. But he specifically shouted out this one comic book run I'm a fan of, involving the Fantastic Four. And I was actually working on the first Marvel video I did for the series at the time. It was Dr. Doom's. And he the video started out with him just like equating like golf to like fighting games to comic books. And then like the second half of the video was him just like gushing about this one Fantastic Four story, and which I'm a fan of too. And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna recommend that story in the video. And I did, and people liked it, so I just kind of kept doing it for Marvel characters. And now I think it's honestly my favorite part of doing the Marvel characters. So those are two people that inspired the comic book recommendations. So I didn't normally at first start doing like stages in the videos initially. It was just like the characters. A big part of that was I was being a little lazy, but also, so you know Babe Ruthless, and
Yeah.
so I found her channel because I was working on my first video. I think I was Joe. Yeah, it was Joe, and I was thinking about putting like the Resident Evil stage in Marvel 3 and just like going over that. And I was like, let me just see if anybody's done this on YouTube before. Like, what are the odds of that happening, right? And I looked, and her video was the first one to come up, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me! And I clicked it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. So that's actually how I found her channel. So I was like, you know what? Somebody's already doing this, so I'm just gonna not really do that. And down the line, I remember having a conversation with her, and I remember being like, well, I'm not really gonna do like the stage breakdowns because that's your thing. And she's like, dude, I don't own the trademark for that. Go for it. So I'm like, okay. So that's how I started doing the stage breakdowns. Again, like I said, it's a little bit from like everybody. I'd say the most recent inspiration I've had. There's another guy on YouTube, not fighting game related. He focuses mostly on like PlayStation 1 stuff. His name is Sean Johnson, and he'll do like these big videos where like he'll cover every like Namco game on the PlayStation 1, every Capcom game. I think that was his recent one, every Capcom game on PS1, and I'm talking like 3 or 4 hour long videos. Like I think the Capcom one was like 6 hours. It took me like a week to finish that, but they're incredibly good. And what he does to introduce each game, he gives each game like a title card with like, you know, unique presentation, and I thought that was really cool. So I tried to like do that for like the Adorable Fighting Game video I did. And you know, I tried to like, I don't like try to rip off people wholesale. I really don't like doing that. So I try to put my own spin on it. So like I made like these custom title cards for each fighting game I talk about. And like I tried to put elements of each fighting game into the card. So like I have like the life bars like showing like what the name of the game is. So yeah, that's another YouTuber that inspired me. Like I said, there are a ton that have inspired me. So yourself included, actually. There's way too many to mention, man.
I don't blame you. And going back real quick, speaking of Babe Ruthless, I remember the time that when I first got to know her channel, it was when she was working on, I think like, I know the video that you're talking about, because this is related to this. Like, I remember that she was working on, there was 2 videos that she did for the first time, which was Moonlit Wilderness, and I think the stage from Capcom vs SNK 2, it was, I believe it was the Aomori stage. It was like the very first video that she was working on, and that was like the video that I ended up like seeing in my recommendations, and I'm like, wow, this was a really good breakdown of the whole thing. And then later on she started working on the rest of the series, and I think like the one that was very like, you know, what really helped her make the mark was the Cammy stages. And down the line, down the line, she asked me to help her out with the Balrog stages, and I really thought it was a really cool thing because we were talking about like the different versions of Balrog stages, and I thought it was like really cool to basically be talking about, like, even though it was just one line, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, so funny thing, when I had found that Resident Evil stage video, I think like she had just uploaded the Cammy video like a day or 2 before. And you know how like when you click on like a new video on YouTube, like it just immediately goes in your algorithm and shows like anything they upload will like show up in your recommended. That video popped up, so I'm like, oh wow, so this is her thing. So I clicked on it, and I remember that video. It was like one of the first videos in a while, fighting game related wise, that like I actually learned something from. I had no idea. Like when you started going into like the actual history of like the buildings in the background, I was like, oh, this is the good stuff. So that was just like a subscribe right there.
Yeah, like that was the thing about it too, because the thing is, like, I kid you not, the same thing that, you know, I've learned about some of the characters that you've done for your videos, and then of course from her, the stages, I go to myself, wow, I just thought it was like, you know, oh, it's, you know, you just see it from there, pretty, you know, You just put it there, here, and paste it and all of that stuff. But no, it turns out there was actual deep, like a lot of deep research into it. Like, going back to the Bullrock thing real quick, like I realized that the Golden Nugget didn't look like that. Like it didn't look like that. It's just straight up like a corner thing that you see outside in Fremont. And then the hotel and everything looks a lot more different when you go the actual place, and I'm like, dang, like this is not like the one that I expect from Street Fighter. So
I mean, I guess they kind of
man.
have to change it for the games, just to avoid like legal issues. It'd probably have it.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, you could probably say the same for like the rest of the stages in Street Fighter and a couple of other things. But I mean, when you think about it, pretty much most of us are basically big enthusiasts of fighting games. Just how we present ourselves as content creators in that sense is all very unique, the way that we say it. Like, you do character breakdowns. Bay Ruthless does a lot of stages mostly. And me, I'm just like the variety type, because I either am showcasing what I've been through my personal journey, or am I just talking about specific stuff? Like, I remember the video that I was really happy making was talking about like the online replay system for Street Fighter, because I even talked about like Third Strike and a bunch of others. Like, I even had to showcase Ultra 2 for the Switch, and I had to look up so much just for doing this particular video, and it was oddly super fun to really look at, because I never saw anybody really talk about the replay system. And I'm thinking, like, if I ever do go back to a project similar to that, it would probably be something like, maybe I could talk about this thing, or maybe I could talk about what's my favorite thing, and vice versa. I'm kind of like just trying to like really putting something new, but something that is both entertaining but also something informative.
Yeah, and first of all, that was a really good video. I had actually completely forgot you could upload straight to YouTube from Ultra Street Fighter 4. So that was really nice to rediscover. It was not something I've ever seen anybody talk about before. So, it's great that everybody has their own little flavor, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you. But yeah, like I'm trying my best to really work on like other projects, because there is one that I really want to work on, and I think this is a topic that maybe you and I could definitely talk about another time, or maybe you could, well, maybe not to maybe spoil anything, but we'll see if go a bit of a 3D aspect here, if you get what I mean.
Okay.
But don't worry, that's just to the viewers being like, huh, what's this all about? Alrighty, real quick, this is another quick question. What is your most favorite fighting game?
Alpha 2.
Oh wow. Alpha 2?
Yeah, I have a lot of fighting games I really love. Obviously I love Marvel. I'm a big fan of like a lot of SNK stuff. Real Bow, Mark of the Wolves. But my favorite fighting game is always going to be Alpha 2. I'm in this weird place where I think Third Strike is like the best Street Fighter game, but Alpha 2 is always going to be my favorite.
Yeah, I hear that, because to me, Third Strike is my favorite fighting game. But when it comes to something that I will always still love fondly, despite Third Strike being one of the best Street Fighters, I'm kind of with Ultra 4, because Ultra 4 to me was where I started making YouTube videos, and like you mentioned, the replay system that had from the PS3 and Xbox 360 version. So despite that, Ultra 4, I don't know if you saw this video, Ultra 4 is broken. Maybe I'll share you that in the DM or something.
Well, I've seen it. I love those videos.
I go to myself, yep, I remember suffering through that nonsense. Yes, my PTSD with Elena and Yoon and Seth. I love watching PTSD in real time. Oh
yeah,
man, that
was
takes
a
me
funny
back.
era.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you like Alpha 2, honestly, because to me, I get a lot of mixed to me, mostly, but I get some people telling me that they love Alpha 3 the most, then there's Alpha 2, and then it's like, they like each other's games, but it's like, Alpha 3 is a little bit more technical, because you have to really rely on the isms a lot, and then of course, there's the The fact that you can technically do everything in one with Alpha 2 because you can either activate custom combo, but it has to have like a really I think you have to have the right setup, or like have it prepared. Like you have to activate certain buttons, be juggling this and there, or you could just rely on just doing super. But depending on the level, like level 1, level 2, level 3, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I think like, and there's a whole big debate to be had between like Alpha 2 versus Alpha 3, and I feel like, at least from what I've seen over time, people tend to. I mean, both games have like a huge dedicated fan base. Don't get me wrong. But it feels like I've seen more people complain about like Alpha 3, and specifically like V-ism in Alpha 3 compared to like custom combos in Alpha 2. Because at least with custom combos in Alpha 2, they're strong. Don't get me wrong, they're absolutely strong, especially when you have like good setups for them. But like they're pretty short overall. Whereas like V-ism, like that's if you're at like 75% health and like the wrong character hits you with like a V-ism combo, that's like either 80% of your life gone, or like you might just be dead, depending on how much life you have left. And you know how people feel about like long touch of death combos. I think that's like the current fighting game discourse right now on social media. But yeah, there's something to be said about long combos and whatnot. But I enjoy both games. Alpha 2, I think, just appeals to me more aesthetically, so that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, I can see why, because here's the thing. I main Cody in Alpha 3 and the V-ism thing, and even if it's not using the super long, crazy combos, like I've seen Zangiefs, Ryus, and Kens where they could just like, oh hey, like I'll continue the combo, but I'll just do like the roll. Cody's is like, even if he doesn't do anything, he can block and dodge moves, which later does translate a little bit of this in his V skill 2 in Street Fighter 5, and it's like, oh, that's a cool nod back to to what he used to have in V-ism. But like, bro can be literally be back and just be dodging supers to the point where if you wanted to fight the boss version of N Bison and you're like worried about his Psycho Crusher, and either if you
he could just dodge that.
He just says, nah man, I don't Psycho Crusher, please. More like Psycho Pusher, because you're like a pushover, my guy. And he's like laughing at him. He's like, look at this bozo. Look at him with the red cap. What is that? You think you can hit me with a Psycho Crusher? Nah, like Cody mains how to like. That's why I love being a Cody main in Alpha 3. We kind of just ignore super moves. We don't care. I could care less if you even did it. Oh, you woke up on it? Oh, well, I'm so sorry. You wasted meter. Anyway, tornado uppercut in the face, and
yeah, Cody kind of just marches to the beat of his own drum in Alpha 3, and that's what makes him great.
Exactly. Okay, so another thing to ask you is, what was like your most favorite project to work with? Actually, we can do this 2 in 1, but what was your most favorite project, and what was the most difficult one to work with?
Okay, I'm glad you combined both questions, because my answer is actually the same for both questions.
Oh, I see.
that is absolutely the Phoenix Wright video I did. So there's a whole story behind why, and trust me, I'm gonna hit both questions for this. So I'm a big Ace Attorney fan. I discovered like the first one when I was starting college, and it was kind of like a really big transition period for me at the time. I had a lot going on in life, so like I have a lot of fond memories of like just like taking my DS and just like when I should have been doing homework, but instead just playing the game instead. It got me through some crazy times. So I was really excited to do the video for him. And I knew like I had to like go above and beyond for that video. So like I a whole bunch of like transitions. I'm pretty sure it's still like either the longest or like the second longest video I've ever done. I think it's like just under an hour. And I had a lot of fun putting it together. So that one absolutely my favorite. Now it's also the hardest one I did, not just because of the length, but so the editing program I use is Vegas Pro. And ask anybody that uses Vegas Pro, it is terrible. And it's funny because like you have smaller creators like me that use it, creators like kind of in the middle, and then even like top people. Like I'm pretty sure I've seen like Maximilian like post about Vegas like on several occasions, and everybody will agree that it sucks. It'll randomly crash, it'll corrupt the video footage. I'll get to that in a second. And it'll freeze. It's terrible. And the worst part about it is you'd think that maybe having like a big, strong computer might be able to get you through those issues. And no, it's all the program. It just sucks. But like for general purpose use, it's still pretty effective. So you just kind of have to like, what I do when I use it, like anytime I do something, like if I make any change to anything, I always have like my hand on like Control S on the keyboard so I can save it. Just in case if it crashes, I at least won't lose progress. So this particular video, so the thing about Vegas is the longer you make a video, the higher chance something will screw up. So I was editing the video and I realized, okay, this is going to be a long video. I have like a bunch of complex transitions and video effects in it, so this is probably going to be a pain to, you know, render the video, but I figure I'll make it work. So Vegas Pro has this really weird thing where randomly, if it'll just decide that, you know, hey, I don't like this video file you gave me, I'm going to make it look terrible. And like it'll just like garble, it'll make everything look glitchy and garbled. And it did that for like half of my video files in that video. And I didn't notice. The thing is, you don't notice it until you actually render the whole video. So and mind you, this is back when I was rendering the videos in 4K. So like rendering 4K videos takes a long time. Like I'll usually find myself like finishing editing a video at like midnight, and I'll set it to render, and then I'll wake up at like maybe 6:30 the next morning, and it'll be just finishing. Like that's how long it takes to render a video. It takes like an entire work shift to render a video at 4K. And the longer the video, exactly, the longer the video, the longer it's gonna take to render. So this was coming up on an hour, and this was I think it took like 8 hours to render that video. And I always do like I always watch the video as soon as it renders just to make sure there's nothing wrong with it. And immediately I see these corrupted frames, and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Now I started like trying to re-record some of the stuff, and so it's terrible. This is like the worst week ever. So as I'm doing that, I get a little tickle in my throat, and I'm like, that's weird. And I get a sore throat as I'm editing it, so I like make some tea, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever. And as I'm working on it, I just feel like sick, like out of nowhere, and I wasn't sure why. So like I took a COVID test, and it came back negative. So I'm like, okay, it's not COVID. I don't know what this is, but like as I was working with like trying to just get all of this footage back, like I am just like half dead. And I somehow managed to put it together. And I render it, and there's still corrupted frames in it, but significantly less. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna upload it as is. And you know, thankfully, you know, nobody really cared about it. You know, everybody thought it was a good video nonetheless. Come to find out, 2 days later, I actually did have COVID, and that's why I felt terrible while editing that video. So I have a lot of negative memories associated with the production of that video, but I still think it's like my favorite thing I worked on, which is weird, but yeah.
I see, like, geez, that had to take like a lot of your health, and honestly, just working at that thing had to be like a big, oh, geez, man. And I feel you on the editing process, because I had made a couple. Okay, so a long time ago, I think when I was first making the Scott Pilgrim video, I'm a completely different person, but I use Share Factory on the PlayStation 4 because most of my gameplay, or most of the stuff that I make, is mostly on the PlayStation. Now, the bad thing about Share Factory is that they have a limit to how much you can make. So I could not make a video past an hour. So I had to rely on using a video service, or, you know, like, I don't have Vegas Pro because I couldn't afford that nor anything else. I had to rely on literally out of my pocket or something, like, hey, in an app or something. And I found something called Film 4. Now, when I was making this, just to transition the parts and to work into everything, the worst thing about it was that, like you, I had to wait hours. But instead of hours, I had to wait days because the program could not handle saving that much compared. And I had to make sure that while I was like, there was days that I could not sleep. At least for those days, I could not sleep because if for some reason, if it basically turns off, it would immediately disjoint the frames that I was like, okay, not the frames, like the video would look terrible, or it would look like it's messed up and garbled, and it's like loud noise, like it was really bad. And one other thing that also I hated was that because it needed to be consistently be on, I could not use the internet with a computer. I could not go to a different window because it would close down the whole thing because it's thinking, oh wait, did you miss something? Did something wrong?
Oh, that's terrible.
It was, but I made the Scott Pilgrim thing, and when I uploaded it, the one thing I did not care about was, oh, you can't monetize, bro. I didn't care about monetizing this thing. I just want to put this out there to show how much fun I was having, and I put through all of this. I don't care. Let me just put this so I can let people see that I've enjoyed this. I've been through hell with this, but not to the point where it's like, oh god, like health-related issues was a thing. Like I just had 3 to 2 days sleepless nights where that was a thing, and it was just ridiculous.
I think if you ask any content creator, they'll probably have at least 1 or 2 videos where they'll just tell you the production process was hell. Like I think that's just something everybody goes through. Everybody has that one story where like they almost died making a video, or at least the video almost died in the process. I guess it's just part of being a content creator.
Yeah, I mean, some people would say, oh, it's over exaggerated. You can't be like, bro, no, listen, buddy. You have to understand, editors who work for other content creators that I've seen for like even groups of it, they have to take hours and hours of their day just to literally make a thing, and they have to work on making sure everything's all good, editing. Like, it's easy to make the content, it's more worse to edit and literally render, and even just adding anything else to the content to make it unique and interesting. But man, I feel very sorry about what you had to deal with. I'm only hoping that after that point things were, I mean, do you still use the same program or no?
No, I still use it. It's like Stockholm Syndrome. Like I can't quit it because it's just too efficient for what it does. Like there's other programs I could use. It's just that those every editing program is different. Like some features are going to be shared between them, obviously, but it's essentially you're going to have to relearn how to edit in a new program, and it's like learning a new language, and that just takes time. So it's more so I'm familiar with Vegas. I can put a video out in like a week with Vegas, whereas if I switch to another program, I'd have to take at least a couple weeks to just figure out how to just do basic things in it. And then that's on top of like, the video effects that I have set up for Vegas already. I'm going to have to figure out how to recreate them in that. I could do that. It's just going to take a long time. It might be something I do like, next year. I like every video I do, I'll take some time out to like, learn how to do, maybe this one video effect in, I don't know, like Adobe After Effects or Premiere. It's just putting the time aside to learn how to use those other programs. But for right now, yeah, I'm still using Vegas Pro.
No worries, and that's pretty good. So I mean, at least you have like other ideas to go for, which is really good because at least you have like a drawback or like a fail-safe plan in case like, okay, if I don't want to use this, I go to this other one. Yeah, that's a lot of insight just to tell me about like, geez, like I'm gonna have to make sure like whenever I recommend a video about like you and everything, I'm gonna make sure that everybody looks into the Phoenix Wright video because dude, you literally put your health and your literal amount of time just to make that.
Yeah, I could honestly say like, because it was so weird because I was. So like the worst of it, like the COVID was like only 2 days, but like it was the most intense 2 days of my life. Like I didn't know if I was gonna make it or not. And then afterwards I was fine. So like I can honestly say, hey, I hope you enjoyed this Phoenix Wright video. I almost died making it, So it's a funny thing I can say. It's one little positive thing I can take from that video production at least.
Absolutely. Alrighty, we just have like a few more questions to talk about. This one's another quick one. Where did the name The Seventh Force came from? Or where did it originate from?
So, this is actually a question I've gotten a lot. Which I did not think people would be interested in it. So, and I think I might have explained this in the video at one point. But so obviously, like, I'm a big fighting game fan. I'm a big, Capcom fan. But I am, if there's one company I'm probably as big a fan of, if not more so, it's Sega. I was a Sega kid growing up. My older sister and my uncle had like a Sega Genesis that I used to play a lot, and one of the games to play on it was Gunstar Heroes, which is a fantastic game for anybody that hasn't played it. It's like it's literally like Contra, and it's like Contra because it's made by a lot of people that used to work on Contra back in the late 80s, early 90s. And there's one specific boss in the game called Seven Force. Now, it's a guy piloting a mech suit, but the mech suit can transform into 7 different forms. So it's like a boss rush just rolled into one. It's just 7 bosses back to back to back to back. And it's like taking place in like this mine shaft, and you're on like this, this jet mine cart that's just zooming past. And it's just a really intense boss fight, and I thought it was like the coolest thing as a world growing up. Coolest thing in the world growing up. And I just thought the name on top of everything else was cool. So yeah, that's just what it is. And I'm honestly like surprised at like how many times like people will go like, hey, is your are you named after the Gunstar Heroes guy? And I'm just glad to see other people played that game. So yeah, that's the origin story behind the boss.
I'm gonna have to play. Yeah, I'm gonna have to play that because I actually have the Sega Classics on my PS4, and that actually is one of the playable games in that collection. So I'm gonna try to see if I can later this week to play it and just be like, yo, it's him, it's the guy, yo, it's the 7 Force dude from FGC YouTube.
definitely play it if you get the chance. So the funny thing is, it's actually in 2 games. That same company did another game called Alien Soldier. And it also has a 7 Force in there too. I guess they just thought it was too cool of a concept to leave in one game. I don't know if it's in the Genesis collection on PS4 or not. I'm not sure. But either way, play Gunstar Heroes. It's a good game.
I'll definitely let you know what my thoughts are after this. But yeah, that's really cool to know that that's where it actually came from. Because I'm always was curious myself, and well, now you know, folks. Now you know where 7 Force originated from. Alrighty. The next question that I got, it's more like an interesting one. Do you feel like your content, or rather the videos that you've made, have made an impact in the FGC? Do you feel like it actually... Well, we did mention that it does, but to you, what do you feel like?
That's a tricky question. I actually don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'd say it's made an impact in the FGC, but I do know that it has made an impact on like people's decisions to like maybe get into like a series, maybe not even just fighting game related. Like I've had a couple people say from like the Marvel videos I've done that, hey, it's really nice that you do these comic recommendations because I started reading like so and so story because you mentioned it in the video. Or I've had somebody say, Phoenix Wright video. A couple people that like had no interest in like the Phoenix Wright series said they started playing the game because of the video, which is nice. So I think it's had an impact on people. The FGC as a whole, probably not, but I'm okay with that.
That's alright though. I mean, at least you gave an impact to people who are both interested in... I mean, hey, if you got people to be interested in playing Phoenix Wright, I mean, who knows? Maybe down the future, that same person or same people might end up using Phoenix Wright in a future EVO tournament for Marvel 3 if we go somehow that 10 years or 20 years later. And then they'll be like, oh, it's because of this guy. He introduced me to Phoenix Wright because of his video. And it'll be like, finally, that video that I literally put my life into then went to something. I mean,
right,
hey, stranger things happen.
Right, and honestly, I think what helps is that I'm not doing this to make an impact on anybody. I'm just doing this because I love talking about these video games. So I don't have any like grand ambitions of like being like this big popular or like impactful person in the FGC space. No, I just like talking about video games, and that's really about it. If you're down with that, cool. If you're not, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. Like, years ago, I used to have like this ambition to really get into fighting games for like different reason because I don't mind saying it because this is pretty much my origin story with this, but it's a little bit like very easy to break down because it's super straightforward. But when I went to Peru during the summer of 2012, I was visiting my family from my mother's side, and I survived an earthquake, which was a 7 to almost like it was a 6.8 to 7.1 magnitude, and
Oh, damn.
everything that I yeah, like everything I was around was spinning, and I thought like literally my like I was going to basically go through a near-death experience, and alongside that, like there was a friend of mine that, well, I wouldn't exactly say a friend, used to be like an ex-associate, that basically decided to part ways with me. And because I was really heartbroken and I was scared of basically, you know, thinking that at that moment I was gonna be like, yo, I was gonna find out like this was it. I decided when I came back to the States, I said, no, you know what? I am tired of looking like I'm some guy that, you know, I'm tired. I don't know how to explain it like this, but like I was tired of being like an NPC to most people's lives. So I wanted to basically be like a figure where people knew me, but over time I thought about like, you know, maybe I'm doing this for the wrong reasons because like I'm fighting a lot of top players and here and there like during the Ultra Street Fighter 4 days and KI days, and I started to realize like I didn't really like doing this, so I wanted to mostly focus on just showing what kind of personality I was, and I wanted to basically be someone where I had a group of friends that really love fighting games, but they also like to get to know each other. And here I am, years later, with a good majority of group of people that, you know, really are very helpful to helping out their community. I'm actually helping out another community locally with me. I'm giving other people insight about how to grow their content, even if it's like, you know, trying to be, you know, like a let's player or podcast streamer or something. Like I'm giving them my personal experience, but I also try to help them out to basically learn like, listen, if you're going to do something for this, do it for what you love for it. Don't do this for like, you know, for some particular emotional reason, because when you begin to realize that doesn't mean much, it starts to question if you're doing something right or you're doing something for yourself, and then you don't feel good about that. I had to learn that the hard way. So for me, I guess now these days, I'm just really trying to connect with people and really just try to really show that I'm just as like an enthusiast with fighting games, but I also want to show that I can keep up at least at a good level. You know what I mean?
I 100% understand what you mean, and you know that's fantastic. That's what it's supposed to be about. You know, you do it for the love of the game. You know, not for the clout. And
Oh
you know,
yeah,
there was a, I think it was either earlier this year or last year. It might have been last year. There was a content creator who had, you know, put out the question to people, hey, you know, are you a small content creator that, you know, tries your hardest, but like, you know, you don't get the views you think you should be getting. You know, what do you think you can do to, you know, improve that? And you know, I saw a lot of people like, you know, responding to that. And saw quite a few like, you know, smaller creators, like, even smaller than me, say that, you know, they feel like so disheartened because, you know, they put a lot of heart and work into what they do, and you know they just aren't getting the views, which I feel that on some level, you know, like oh God, I really don't want to sound like I'm bragging here. There was like, so I was looking at I check like the comments on my YouTubes every now and then, and somebody left a comment on like one of my older videos, and I happened to click on it, and I didn't realize it got to like 10K views, which is wild. And I kind of got a little choked up because like I remember when like that video was struggling to get past like 100 views. So like I kept at it because I just like talking about these games. Now I kind of at some point I felt like, you know, maybe I am just kind of like shouting into the void and nobody cares about this. And I just kind of realized, well, you know what? I care about it, so I'm gonna keep on doing it. And that's kind of my message here. If you care about what you're doing and you care about what you're talking about, keep doing it, because I guarantee you will resonate with somebody down the line.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's a true advice.
And even if it's just one person, that's still one more than you had, before they showed up. So
Yeah,
that's really just my message there. Just if you love it, I guarantee somebody else will. If you like it, somebody out there is gonna love it.
exactly. And that's a really good thing to say because there's been, to my perspective, when I was, starting, like, I've been doing this for 12, to almost starting up, like, yeah, actually 12 years, actually. Time goes by really fast, and I've seen a lot of people where they really think it's kind of like both easy and hard. But the thing is that I don't see people really giving the drive to do what they want to do. I mean, that's why a majority of content creators, like, even though they're going to go through some, some that doesn't get that quite many reached or anything, they still keep at it because they know that there's still an audience that looks forward to the next few things. Now, granted, in most cases, you have to kind of like, you have to basically, I think I saw this in a, I think I saw this in the net once. There was a person that was asking, I think one of the anime filmmakers, and they were asking, "Oh, what would you do to captivate your audience?" And the other one just said, "Don't. You have to make what you like, and people will literally resonate of what you build because you're not trying to pander to nobody. You're not trying to really make this content for a specific audience. Maybe in some levels you may do so every once in a while, but it's more about intentionally you're just making something that you really like, and that's what makes people like, for your channel they like yours because they love seeing character breakdowns, the move list, the comics references, and it's like you give them a very captivating engagement to learn about something and be interested in something completely new to them. And for me,
Exactly.
I'm just a variety creator. Like I could do, hey, I'm playing Steve Fox or Kazuya Mishima, or I'm showcasing gameplay of something brand new that people haven't seen yet. Which I'll be honest, that's kind of like how most of my stuff came by. It's like just basically being almost the first of most things, if anything. To, oh hey, I'm playing Among Us for the first time since maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and hey, I won for some reason. Like LOL. I don't know. It's a weird concept. Heck, I was like even playing like Marvel Rivals for the beta, and I did 2 videos. One that was generally one of the best things I did, and the other was just me having fun playing freaking Spider-Man. Now, mind you, that other one didn't do so well, but I didn't really care because like, I'm just testing the waters to see if there was an interesting. And then suddenly I see Spider-Man going up, and I'm like, what? People actually like my garbage Spider-Man gameplay? Like, what is this?
It's YouTube is so funny because it's always the video you least expect that blows up.
Yeah,
The way it's usually like the one you put like your heart and soul into. It does like it does okay, and then like the one you just kind of throw up like yeah, I recorded this, I guess I put this up, and then that one just blows up. It's so weird how that like it always happens. It's happened to me. Ask anybody that does content creation, it almost always happened to them, at least once or twice. Which hey, as long as it resonates with somebody, that's fine. But it's always the one you least expect. Trust me.
Oh, that's true. That's really true.
Like I'll give you an example. So I was having a conversation with it's so funny. I was having a conversation with somebody in the grocery store because I was looking at something on my phone. It might have been Twitter or something. And I think I was looking at a tweet about like old like computer fighting games, like internet browser games. And somebody saw it on my phone, and like we started talking about it. And after I was leaving the store, I was like, no, maybe I should do a video about that. And it was a silly little video idea. Like, who's gonna watch a video about like web browser fighting games, right?
Right.
So one, that's my most popular video. Like it's like at 100K something views right now. It's ridiculous. I get a lot of comments saying that video was how like people found my channel. And all from this one silly little idea that I didn't really think was ever going to get any traction. I just put it up for fun. I didn't think it was going to actually, be I didn't think it was gonna resonate with people as much as it did, but yeah, a lot of people did, and I think that's like one of my favorite videos to read the comments of, because it's a lot of people in the comments just like reminiscing about like growing up on these games, and like, you know, on some level, like we all kind of had the same childhood. It's you know, just kind of nice to be able to share those experiences, you know. But yeah, instead, always the video you least expect, without fail.
Oh yeah, that's a 100% true thing. Like, you put work into this, but then it's decent. Something that you least expected, and it goes like, "Oh, LOL, it's really cool," and I'm like, "What? I didn't even put effort into this."
Exactly.
But hey, at least it's good. At least it's making people happy, which is good.
Exactly. Like the adorable fighting game video I did. I worked my ass off for that one, because I did like a lot of really like unique video transitions I've never tried before. So I was hoping it would, like, you know, do okay, and it started off really, really, really badly. And you know, I tried not to get down about it, so I said, you know, you can't win them all. And then out of nowhere, it just started rising. So eventually I found an audience, but like, it's as long as you can push through that initial feeling of, you know what, actually, I'll say this: the best thing, if you're a content creator on YouTube and like you look at like, you know, YouTube Studio often, the best thing you can do not stress out about like the analytic numbers on YouTube. Like, so you know how like on YouTube, when you upload something, it'll show you like how it's performing relative to like your last 10 uploads?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even pay attention to that, because it'll absolutely skew what's otherwise like a decently performing video. It might look bad to you because it's not doing as good as like your other videos. Like, you could have a video that's doing like, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna give you a live demo right now. Let me pull up my YouTube Studio. And so you might have a video that's doing like, I don't know, you uploaded it 5 hours ago, and it's okay. Here we go. So the Ruby Heart video, perfect example since we brought it up earlier. So I uploaded it 5 hours and 40 minutes ago. It's at 1.9k views, so like just under 2,000, and it's sitting at like 6 out of 10 as far as like, you know, my last 10 videos. So somebody might look at that and go, you know, 6 out of 10, man, I fell off. Now mind you, again, they're ranking it against your top 10. If your top like 3 videos did like extremely well, of course everything after is going to look pretty low in comparison, but relatively speaking, it's still doing good. So
yeah, it is.
Honestly, the best advice I can give: don't stress out about the numbers. Don't even look at the ranking. You know, I mean, it might be good to check, you know, every now and then, just to see, you know, if there's anything like, you know, going on copyright wise with it. But don't stress out about the numbers. Just don't. Just be, you know, if I hope that car horn outside isn't coming through.
No worries. It's just think of it as background noise for like our arcade, this lounge, because basically that's what we are. We're basically in an arcade, just chilling and vibing, and you know, don't worry. At least it's the realistic vibe within an arcade. So you're
part of the arcade atmosphere. Okay. But yeah, just don't stress out about the numbers. You know, sure, read the comments, interact with, you know, people commenting, but don't stress out about the numbers. I promise you will have a better creation experience when you stop stressing out about the numbers.
Oh, that's truly true, man. And that's a thing, because people tend to think that basically brings them to be in a negative mindset. To basically conclude this, because I'm going to also do another 2-in-1. What are your plans for the future? And is there anything new you would like to tease, or kind of like tell a preview for those that are actually, you know, subscribed to the channel of yours? Like, do you want to give like a little tease, or kind of like say, look forward to something with this, like a hint or something? Or what do you plan to do in the future? What comes to mind with that?
Okay, so I'll try not to make this too long, because I don't want the file size for this to be too big. So so I do have some collabs planned for the future. I think I told you about them privately.
Oh yeah,
I'm not gonna say them now, but I have one involving an SNK character coming up. And I'll give a little hint for this one. A Halloween themed Darkstalkers one. That might give it away to anybody who's really into this FGC thing. So I have those two things planned. I do plan on expanding the series I talk about. Like I've talked about Capcom stuff, Sega stuff. I get a lot of people saying, hey, what about SNK? And I got an answer to that, and you guys are going to see in a couple weeks. As far as like the future, just in general, I don't know. I mean, I guess I'm just gonna keep the path I'm going on so far. I mean, I'm gonna try to upgrade like the presentation a bit, but otherwise I don't have too many drastic changes for the future, I'd say.
And that's really good to hear. And well, here's the thing. I already more or less have an idea, and I already have the top secret view, but you're not gonna ask me that, guys. You're gonna have to wait and find out. Like Halloween, you're gonna have to wait until that whole thing comes up. But it's like the best treat, if anything.
I mean, yeah, Halloween is the time for treats, so you just gotta wait and see.
Oh man, but yeah, for real though, like I'm glad to see that you're really still moving forward with a lot of things with everything else. And in all honesty,
Oh no, I do have one other thing I do kind of want to. It's a long ways out, so I don't mind teasing it now. But I do have one very big video. Not for this year. It's probably going to be a next year thing. But I do have one very big video planned. It's probably going to be the biggest video I've ever done. Probably the biggest video I've done and will ever do. I'm still kind of like working out the logistics for it because like it's gonna be very involved. Like I'm talking like on location, like filming and stuff around the city. But I do have a really, really big. It's about a certain type of fighting game stage. That's all I'll say for now. But that I do have. That's probably like my big, like long-term project for now. So look forward to that, I guess. But that's gonna be a 2025 thing.
Ooh, this is gonna be interesting to see. And yeah, you heard it here, folks. There's actually something big upcoming in the upcoming year of next year, and honestly, I'm actually looking forward to that. To what
partially inspired by your stage select videos, actually, I should mention.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Well, I'm surprised. I'm not gonna lie, that caught me off guard. Like, wow. Thank you. I'm surprised that you're taking inspiration with that.
Yeah, I could probably tell you about it privately after this, but yeah, just that's the hints I'm throwing out for now publicly.
Yep. But yeah, glad to really hear that, you have a lot of good ambition and plans coming up, and definitely gonna be, I'm gonna be curious to know what this will be after this. But anyway, guys, that is it for today's podcast episode with the very amazing and the very fantastic The Seven Force.
I'm okay.
No, don't sell yourself short, dude. Believe me, I have loved watching your videos. I have few that I really like, and one I will be a bit biased or a little bit based, but one of them was the one that I did help you with Terry, because I love talking about Terry, and I'm excited for freaking Terry in Street Fighter 6. Then there
the trailer should be coming out in a couple weeks. Yeah,
I know. I'm really excited for him. And then there was the Frank West video that you made. Dude, then the Spider-Man video, the moveset that you did with everything. Listen, you covered a lot of my favorite characters and everything. And then, of course, you were talking about, like, Saki. Saki was, like, the one I was like, really? There was a lot of stuff that I did not, knew about and everything. And just putting this out there because this is, a friend of mine also loved the what you were working on. He absolutely loved the Gambit video, and another close friend of mine loved the Cyclops. He's like a big Cyclops fan, and I told him, hey, what if I told you I knew the guy that talked about it? And he goes like, really? Yo, your friend is like amazing. I'm glad that he did justice to Cyclops because I know people love Wolverine, but you gotta give Cyclops the love. And I'm like, hey, look at the new season. Look at the X-Men 97. They did love to him too. So I'm glad my friend did that. So
it has been such a good time to be a fan of Cyclops. So I'm really glad that video kind of like united Cyclops fans.
Yeah, it's really good to see.
And tell your friend he has good taste in comic book characters, by the way.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's gonna watch, but he'll definitely. I'm pretty sure he'll leave a comment. I'm pretty sure.
So anyway, so I'll say, hey, man, you have great taste in comic book characters if you're listening.
Oh man, and with that, this concludes the second episode of Content Creator Spotlight, featuring my very esteemed and very, very, very intelligent friend known as
the Seven Force.
Hey, there we go. So tune in next episode as we get another guest coming into Content Creator Spotlight. But until then, this is E Shockroller and
Seven Force.
Yep. Well, we'll be tuning out now, but in the meantime, we hope to see you guys. Aside from this, maybe we'll do a thing together, maybe not. I can't tell you. You're gonna have to basically do a secret code or, do a specific unlock to see if that actually is a thing. Why do I know? I'm not a fighting game developer. Why would I tell you my hidden secrets? Actually, maybe, but you have to look around to see if you can find anything. But anyway, that's it for today. You guys have a wonderful day or night, wherever your time zone may be. And Seven Force, thank you so much for really being a part of this. It was great having you here. Thanks for really sharing what you have provided, along with the teasers and everything. Until then, this is Shockroller and Seven Force signing out. Take care, everybody.
Have a good one, everyone.